Mayor, welcome to Radio Parvasi. Good morning.
It's always great to be on Radio Parvasi.
Thank you so much. I remember in 2006, I was at the forefront when we led an agitation that Brampton needs more healthcare services. We got one new hospital, but we lost the previous one. And we were asking, demanding couple of things at that time, reduce the emergency room time. We need more beds. And I remember Toronto Star, Globe and Mail, CP24, there were 32 mainstream media outlets over there. And our premier at that time, Dalton McGuinty, said on the floor of the House that I have heard your voice. So in 2006, I mean almost 13, 14 years back, we were demanding for another hospital, but I am afraid to say I'm really disappointed that even after 13, 14 years, we still are demanding the same hospital.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rajinder, I think, as much as Dalton McGuinty in 2006 said that he heard our voice, he must have been wearing earmuffs because I don't think he's heard our voice. The reality is that new hospital that they said they were building, the urgent care clinic, that's not a hospital. People say we have two hospitals. We have one hospital. The urgent care clinic is not 24/7. There's no emergency room. That's not a hospital. It's an urgent care clinic. And if they make it 24/7, they build an emergency room, then sure, it's going to be a hospital. But it's nowhere near a hospital right now. And so what this comes down to, and the reason we declared an emergency, is municipalities have the legal tool that we can declare a public emergency. Normally, this tool is exercised when there is an extreme weather event. For example, when Toronto had the ice storms a few years ago, they declared an emergency. When recently in St. John's, Newfoundland, they had the big snowstorm, and they declared an emergency. And normally you declare an emergency if lives are at risk, if human life is at risk. And we talked about it as a city council, and we felt that we're now at the point that lives are at risk because of the healthcare underfunding. And Rajinder, just to explain to you how bad it is, right now Brampton receives half of what is the provincial average. So in Ontario, if you look at what the province spends per resident, it's about $1,900 per person. In Brampton, they only spend $900 per person. We have 55% fewer hospital beds than the provincial average. Right now, we have 608 hospital beds. To meet the provincial average, just the average, not to get ahead, just to meet the average, we need another 800 beds. Double what we have just to meet the average. Our emergency department is now the busiest in North America. We were built to accommodate a maximum of 90,000 visits per year, but last year we had 138,000 visits. The urgent care clinic was built for 10,000 visits, but they had 75,000 visits last year. And so it's really frustrating that we have this healthcare crisis, and folks at Queen's Park have been asleep at the switch. And that's why we declared an emergency, to really rattle the cage and let people know, raise the red flags, let them know that we're not second-class residents in Brampton, that we deserve the same quality health care as they have elsewhere. We say, Rajinder, in Canada, we have universal health care. We don't have two-tier health care.
Yeah.
But the reality is we do have two-tier health care. You go down to Oakville, and they've got a beautiful new hospital. You go down the street to Vaughan, and you see this beautiful hospital that they're building. They have the provincial average when it comes to beds. But we don't in Brampton. And so I'm sick and tired of being told, down the road you're going to build a new hospital. I want the province to commit now to phase 2 on Peel Memorial. I want them to commit to a third hospital in our city, because that's the bare minimum to catch up to the provincial average. And we all pay the same provincial tax. Rajinder, when you pay your taxes and the province gets to collect half of that and half of it goes to Ottawa, you're paying the same taxes in Brampton as you do elsewhere. And since we're paying the taxes, we expect the services. When we pay taxes to government, we expect good education and good health care. And I'm not expecting, I cannot accept the fact that Brampton residents would get half of what other communities get in terms of healthcare dollars.
Okay, I have interviewed Dr. Naveed Muhammad, is a dear friend, and he always tell me that, Rajinder, we need to work hard. He's fully agreed that we should all work hard together. We should put pressure on the different level of the governments. I interviewed Premier Doug Ford recently when there was a convention of our Canada's premiers, and he admitted that the situation is critical. I mean critical. The Premier himself is saying that healthcare system, healthcare services in Brampton are in a critical situation. Prime Minister visited our studio recently. I brought this to his attention also. I mean, all level of governments, when they understand the situation is going bad to worse, then where is the problem then, Mayor? Why it's not happening then?
Well, you know what? And it's one thing for them to say that they understand the situation, but until they actually announce the new hospital, until they actually announce new beds, then it's all spin. I don't want their sympathy. I don't want them to say they know how bad it is. I want an announcement. I want the Premier here. I want the provincial government here saying, guess what? Brampton's going to get their new hospital. The 800 hospital beds that Brampton's short, I want them to say, good news, Brampton, you're going to get the 800 beds you're short. That's what I want to hear.
Okay, even if we get any announcement today, it's going to be 10 to 12, 15 years at least to build new hospital. And my worry is that by that time, what will be the population of Brampton, which is very fastly increasing? And
so it shows the 800 beds we're asking for. That's not excessive because 800 brings us up to the provincial average. But based on the population growth we're going to see, they should be really building more than 800 beds. But Rajinder, they're not even. We're talking about 800 beds. They're not even putting up any beds right now, and so. There are some fast tracks with the phase 2 of Peel Memorial, which they could do in a matter of years. That could add 200 beds right away. There are things they could do to add beds to the system, and where there's a will, there's a way. And so what I want to hear from the province is there is a will. There is a will to address this.
I asked Dr. Naveed Mohammed that can we add few more beds in the present facility of Brampton Civic, because most of the area is used as administrative, so we can convert that into beds. And he said, yeah, it is possible, it need more money, but yes, there are two immediate options. One, we can add more beds in the present hospital, and second, as you said, Peel Memorial phase 2 we need to start as early as possible, but even then we will be able to add at the most 250 or 300 beds. So from where these 800 beds are coming?
So if they get those 200 beds into the system right away, that's going to help. And then in terms of the other beds, we're going to need that hospital site. The city has purchased land in the northwest of Brampton where the province could build the hospital. We've got a great location for them we've presented a plan to them, and we just need the province to say, yes, we're going to start the process. But you're right, building a hospital takes time, and so that's why time is of the essence. If you think it's bad today, it's going to get worse, and we can't afford for them to delay a decision. We need that commitment of a new hospital. We need the phase 2 appeal memorial. We need that commitment yesterday.
Okay, so you started petition earlier, now you have declared emergency. Do you think that it's going to put some pressure on them? Are we expecting some kind of relief, or what do you want to public to do?
Well, we have 18,000 signatures already, making this one of the largest petitions we've ever seen. But I want the public, I want them to contact your MPPs. Call your MPPs and say, we expect Brampton to be treated equitably. No more delay. No more delay. That's what I want to. When you're talking to your MPPs, tell them no more delay.
So let us be clear that it's a provincial issue, not a federal issue, but still federal government can come forward, make some contribution, but more or less you need to put pressure on the provincial government to get another hospital as early as possible, or start phase 2 of Peel Memorial, or adding more beds at Brampton Civic. Otherwise it will be too late.